What's happening, people? I'm what you need. You can subscribe to my channel if you like this video, share, comment, as well as donate via Western Union or MoneyGram. We're going to talk about Deontay Wilder and what he said in an interview on MMA Sirius XM. You can check it out on Twitter. I saw it on Twitter. Carissa Shields was the one, I follow her, that actually pulled it up. And Deontay Wilder basically said what I was saying. I didn't even watch the entire fight. I just watched a little piece of it, the knockout. And Wilder basically broke it down in much more detail than I did. But I said that Wilder's a good boxer. I told you guys this. He set up, basically said in detail that he set up Luis Ortiz for the knockout. And how he did it was he had to be very careful because Luis Ortiz is a very fast counterpuncher. So he was watching the speed at which Ortiz was doing. He was observing Ortiz's movements and so on very closely. In the meantime, he was very careful where he placed his feet, that is to say, his footwork. He was circling to Ortiz's right, his left, away from Ortiz's power left. And one of the things that Wilder talked about was how he was able to get Ortiz into position to put the right hand down. And he was talking about throwing a couple left hooks. The left hooks would actually get Ortiz to move more into Wilder's right hand as he's circling away. And he saw a couple rounds before he saw the angle when he kept on hooking Ortiz, because when he hooked Ortiz, he kind of pushed Ortiz into line with where he wanted to be. So he then started throwing the jab, and the idea behind the jab was that he would get Ortiz to react to the jab, because Ortiz is a counterpuncher. He would react to the jab. Sometimes he said he would feint the jab just to see what Ortiz would do. So by the seventh round, he was basically sure that Ortiz would be in perfect position for what he wanted to do, and he feinted the jab. He feinted as if he was going to throw the jab, and then he came straight down the center with the right hand. Ortiz was perfectly in line with that. Ortiz hadn't realized that Wilder was circling to his left, and so when Ortiz had to pivot to counter Wilder, just the timing of the punch, Wilder would be able to catch him as he's pivoting in. And once you're pivoting in, you take off the angle. So even if your head is off center line at a certain angle, as you pivot in to your opponent, and Wilder was talking about it all coming down to muscle memory and just feeling and seeing that, he felt that Ortiz was at the perfect angle. And he really caught him at the perfect angle, because what Wilder did was he jabbed, then he circled, he pivoted. So Ortiz now would have to pivot in to face him. And as he's pivoting to face him, his guard would not protect him. He was actually open for just a split second. And that's where Wilder was able to feint the jab, get Ortiz to react, pull his guard down, and just enough, that is his guard that covers his right hand, that covers his face, just enough so that when he threw the right, well, Ortiz thought his left hand would have covered with a punch. He was off the angle, and so he caught him straight flush down the center, and that's what shocked Ortiz. Ortiz didn't understand how the hell he got knocked down. Okay, so people were talking about the reaction. It wasn't so much the power of Wilder as it was the placement, and Wilder spoke about that as well, the perfect placement of the punch. And he didn't throw a big, powerful, long, strident jab. It was a short chopping jab, a short chopping right. Followed through with the right hand, but it was a short chopping right. And why that worked? Because Ortiz never saw the shot coming. It was so fast, and he threw it pretty quick. So it was so fast, Ortiz didn't see it, and it threw his whole entire equilibrium off. And not only did it stun him and throw his equilibrium off to beat the 10 count, but it literally snapped his head back. His head was relaxed. It wasn't, he wasn't expecting a punch like that to flinch. And when you don't flinch, you get the full brunt of the force that snaps your head back. So that's what happened with Ortiz. So his brain crashed into his skull. It crashed into his skull. Boom. And that was that. It was beautiful. Definitely Wilder made a statement with it. But it was his craft, it was his skills and his craftsmanship that allowed him to be able to do that. So it was brilliant. And he basically documented that. And so once again, I just wanted to say that I've seen Wilder counter Ortiz a couple times and get the angle on Ortiz. And I thought in the last fight where he faced Ortiz, the fight before the last fight, sorry, where he faced Ortiz the first time. Hey, what he's going? Sorry about it. That he did an excellent job of countering him when it counted. And this time he perfected it to a science so that, it was successful at the 7th round, which is 3 rounds sooner than he knocked him out in the 10th. So it was very good work by Wilder on that. But he had been able to get that angle for a while. All right. Since the first fight, he was able to get that angle, counterpunch Ortiz. He's always catch Ortiz with a counterpunch. That's what always stunned Ortiz. Ortiz wouldn't see the counterpunch coming. And that's Deontay Wilder. And Ortiz is the counterpuncher. So you don't expect to be countered. You don't expect, the counterpuncher doesn't expect himself to be countered. And that's what Wilder did to Ortiz for the second time. Well, in the second fight. Okay. So I wanted to talk about that. Wilder just confirming what I said, what I observed, just by looking at the small little snippet of it. So I was listening to D Styles as well. D Styles realized that there was boxing going on there as well as Ashy Knuckles. The guys in there, they get carried away by Deontay's power. They don't realize he's very, very smart in there. He's very, very smart, very calculating in what he's doing. I'd like to see what he does in his performance against Tyson Fury, how he will try and solve Tyson Fury's. Because quite frankly, Tyson Fury is a problem. He's a problem. So we'll see what Wilder can do to solve that problem. And you can't just use brute force. You can't just use brute power. That's not going to get you a win over Tyson Fury. You have to outsmart him. So we'll see if he could do that. He outsmarted Luis Ortiz. Let's see if he can outsmart Tyson Fury. All right. You guys have a good one. Don't forget you can donate to my channel via Western Union or MoneyGram. Don't hesitate to do so. I can give you the details. Until then, you guys have a great one.